Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on KUTV Primetime News. You can share thoughts with us on our social media platforms on Facebook, KUTV Kenya, and on Twitter, KUTV_Kenya. Politics. The game of numbers is now on its peak season. As we head to the 2022 general elections, a lot is happening. Coalitions, switching of lanes here and there, and heavenly promises. Today, we are joined by Duncan Bay, who is a political analyst, to help us understand what should we expect in the forthcoming polls. So, Duncan, thank you so much for dedicating your time for this discussion. You may introduce yourself to our viewers. They get to know who Duncan is.
Oh, thank you. I'm Duncan Bay, a political analyst, like he has rightfully put it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, into the discussion in a nutshell, Duncan, do you think Kenyans are ready for the forthcoming polls, and are they really positive about it, factoring in that we are seeing voter apathy in the mass registration exercise?
Okay, this is a statement I made in some forum, and maybe I'll make it here, that the straw that broke the camel's back was the failed promises by the Jubilee government for laptops, to study, and a government that has let corruption run away. So I think the youth, and that resonates well with me, are largely disillusioned, and they know they're beginning to ask themselves, now what is new that that will come with the 2022.
Right.
And I know, I'm not a soothsayer, but I know many of them are bound to sit out the 2022 elections, unless something happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, so what should we expect for the 2022 polls? Are we seeing it boiling down to the presidential race? Is it going to boil down to a two-horse race, like it has always been in the previous years?
Of course, there will be a third force, Oka. But I think Oka will be a donkey. The others are horses, like you rightfully put it.
Right.
And it will be nail biting and spellbinding, and it will go to the wire. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you've just mentioned OKA Alliance. So, in this alliance where we have the ANC party leader, that is Musalia Mudavadi, we're also having the Wiper party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, we are having Wetangula is also there, we're also having the KANU leader, that is Gideon Moi. These people have been having meetings here and there, but up to date they have not unveiled their presidential candidate. Do you think they will work as an alliance till the end of the line?
Gideon Moi said in some quarters that he might support the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Right.
But again, I see the glue that brought them together being dismembered with the test of time. And maybe we will end up with Musalia Mudavadi supporting Raila Odinga, or maybe Gideon Moi supporting Raila Odinga. Yeah, but I doubt if they'll stay as a pack until 2022.
Right.
Yes.
Now, so still on OKA, we've seen what happened when the rebirth of KANU, the party leader, that is Gideon Moi, was endorsed to go for the presidency. But do you think he will probably walk the talk that the delegates endorse him for this position? Maybe he will also run on its own to the presidency.
The delegates endorsing KANU party leader, Gideon Moi, I think it's just maybe what I would say is upping the ante. They are raising stakes.
Right.
Yeah, maybe so that their candidate could be seen as a frontliner. Yeah, and going forward, I tell you there'll be other realignments. So it's just about time.
Right. Now, let's talk about the UDA, this outfit by the Deputy President, William Ruto. UDA has been championing for the bottom-up economy across the country. We saw just the other day when he was in Nyamira, we saw the numbers, we saw the youth there. Do you think UDA as a party stands a chance of clinching the top seat come the 2022 polls?
Sometimes the numbers are not an indicator of how elections would go.
Right.
But the UDA, with their bottom-up economic model, I tell you, Idi Amin tried it in 1972 in Uganda. It flopped.
Right.
By trying to, send away Asians in Uganda. And he was saying, I'm giving Uganda to the ethnic Ugandans.
Right.
Uganda was sent to economic recession when the economy went into shambles. So I believe, there's a lot that UDA needs to do. There's a lot that needs to be done by UDA.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, talking of the economy itself, the Deputy President, William Ruto, championing for the bottom-up economy, is trying to send a message that he wants to lift the majority of Kenyans who are at the bottom of the pyramid. He wants to lift them to, at least some level top of the pyramid so that we rise together as a nation. And this is something that is resonating well with the youth who majority don't have jobs. The Mama Mboga that he has always been talking about. Don't you think these people might find a lot of sense in what he's saying? Because, looking at it on the other side, it's something, if at all, it's something that can be implemented and practically work. It's something that will lift them. Don't you think these people would genuinely support him to clinch the seat?
I would say this, an overbearing percentage of Kenyans are tribal. Virtually 90% of Kenyans are tribal. And we always vote, we always follow our tribal lords. It's a fact, we cannot gainsay. But again, pitting classes, coming up with the class wars, trying to balkanize a class against the other, it has never worked somewhere. The bottom-up approach was a brainchild of the likes of Karl Marx, but it didn't work. Has it worked anywhere in the world? And again, taking away from somebody or maybe trying to stagnate somebody because they have, I don't think it's a healthy discussion we should encourage. Yes.
Now, talking about the Kenyans voting on the tribal lines, we are seeing in the UDA, the party led by the Deputy President William Ruto. We just saw the other day what happened. The Kirinyaga governor, that is Anne Waiguru, defecting from the ruling Jubilee Party, joining the UDA party. Don't you think the party itself, it's not necessarily just from people from one block of a tribe. It's bringing in people from different tribes. Don't you think this can also give him an upper hand on this?
We still respond to our tribal lords. It's a fact. It's admissible that we still respond to our tribal lords. The Luo will identify with Raila. The Kalenjins will identify with Ruto. And of course, Uhuru Kenyatta, the president, is still the de facto, tribal lord of Kikuyus. In as much as some people tout him as a lame duck, he's still a tribal lord. Governor Waiguru jumping ship and joining UDA. I think it's in my assessment, I think maybe she's undressing to jump in a leaking pool.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice, interesting. So it's true Kenyans have really been, leaning on tribal sides when, voting for the top seat. But in your own perspective, do you think it will ever come to a point that Kenyans now are waking up, they don't necessarily vote on the tribal lines, but they probably weigh the manifestos of the candidates at some point? It
will take quite some time. Yeah. In fact, even in the US, it took quite some time. But even how they, how the Democrats and Republicans, how they are constituted, there's always something that works, brings them around the parties. I foresee that maybe in another millennium, but not in ours. Yes, we still respond well to tribe.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about ODM party. The party leader, that is Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, has been championing for Azimio la Umoja. And this Azimio la Umoja is something that he probably wants to bring all Kenyans together, not, forsaking the tribal lines. He just want to have Kenya as a nation together. Do you think this would work as an advantage for him in the forthcoming polls?
Yes.
Why would you say that?
Azimio la Umoja is a social welfare, and I know he's trying to bury the tribal lines that has riddled this country for far too long. And again, the Azimio la Umoja is a clarion call for, trying to bring us together in spite of our differences. And the Azimio la Umoja, I know it's a good slogan. At least, it's not trying to. If I try to juxtapose it with the deputy presidents, which tries to focus more on the people in the lower pyramid, it's not. I think that is much more sellable compared to the bottom up.
But you see, again, you could also try to look around. What problem do we have at stake? In as much as, yes, the Azimio la Umoja is looking forward to bring Kenyans together. I might be a Luo, yes, I am, but I coexist very well with the Kikuyus. I coexist very well with the Kambas, with the Kalenjins on the other side as well. But now the problem at stake. You see how the COVID-19 pandemic, it really ravaged the country, the economy, and what the deputy president is championing for, bottom-up economy, reviving the economy, that is what he's really been championing for. Don't you think Kenyans might try to lean on what is the solution of the problems that you're having at hand? Because Kenyans are peacefully coexisting together. If at all there are no elections, Kenyans coexist together very peacefully. Don't you think Kenyans might look at what is at stake, the problems you're having, the economy, and then lean towards the deputy president?
We can build a citadel for 4 years and break it in just 1 year or just 1 day. If we don't have a united country, if we don't forge a united country, we are working in vain. We are trying to compete our own shadows. And that's why the Azimio la Umoja, in my assessment, I know it tends to fuel the aggression, most especially in the aftermath of every election. And that's why I think we should support it.
We support which slogan?
The Azimio la Umoja.
Azimio la Umoja.
Yeah, it tries to bury the tribal lines.
Now, you see, now the problem of the tribal lines, it only comes up when mostly when you're having the general elections. That is now where the aftermath of these tribal lines really comes out clearly. But we are having a problem. You see now, even Musalia Mudavadi, when he talks to the nation, he tries to focus much on the economy. He says that we need to revive the economy, we need to do this so that the economy can be good. Don't you think what necessarily should Kenyans really consider? Because if you're talking about bringing Kenyans together, this one is mostly focusing on the aftermath of the elections, but everyday problems. The first year for the 5 years before we have a general elections, the first year we're having economic problem, the second year we're still having this problem. Where do you think Kenyans should really put their eyes on?
Musalia Mudavadi was once a vice president of this republic, and he was at a pole position, to change the status quo, just like Raila Odinga, just like William Ruto.
Yes.
But again, there's a personality of Musalia Mudavadi, there's a personality of William Ruto, there's a personality of Raila Odinga. Upon mention of Raila Odinga, there are few who say, okay, in as much as we know Raila for this and not for that, I would still vote him in. Right. There's a personality about William Ruto, and there's an image that is in everybody's mind, or virtually all Kenyans' mind, that William Ruto might turn into an African Putin and abolish presidential term limits. So, same as Musalia Mudavadi. In as much as maybe it's touted to be, mellow and maybe a conservative, I don't think it fits the bill. Yeah.
Now, you've just mentioned a very important, aspect of ODM party leader Raila Odinga having been into the government. Musalia Mudavadi having been a vice president at some point. We also having the deputy president, that is William Ruto, has also been in the government since the Moi era until right now. He is the deputy president now for the two terms, that is 10 years. And other aspirants we have seen in this race, we have seen Kalonzo Musyoka has also been a vice president. Most of these people are not new to the government. And so talking of the track records, who do you think has done much and has sincere intentions to do something good for the sake of this country?
I'm not talking as a Raila Odinga supporter, but I know Raila has the country's interest at heart. Yeah, that I know for a fact. You can look at their track record during the Grand Coalition government. Raila Odinga was a brainchild of very important projects. Say Thika Road, devolution, So I think Raila Odinga has the interest of the country as a heart. That is not to say that the others you've just mentioned, maybe they don't have the country's interest at heart, but we judge you for us to give you, maybe raise you to a position. We look at your past. We come into your past to inform our future. Yeah, so that's my take for it.
Right, but talking of Raila Odinga on what they did on the Grand Coalition government, which is we could see very positive projects that came up during that period. And we've also seen the Deputy President, William Ruto, moving around saying that when Raila Odinga brought in the handshake aspect into the country, he came and robbed the good things, the plans they had with the Big Four agenda. What do you say about this?
Of course, it's politics. There's a lot of gimmicks, a lot of ploy, and a lot of painting the other black. And I think that's a case of a pot calling a kettle black. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. So generally, let us not try to look at the personalities, people who are vying for these, the top seats, who will have a lot of stake in the next government that comes into play. So let's try to focus on the manifestos, trying to see on the promises that these candidates are bringing into action. Who do you think has sincerity in what they're rallying for, that Kenyans should probably give it a deeper eye?
And like I just told you, for you to know what the possibility of what I could do in future, you look at my past.
Right.
Look at every candidate. By the way, I analyze the candidates devoid of emotions, devoid of sentiments, devoid of maybe where I'm coming from. But look at their past. Look at where where they have come from. Of course, if Raila Odinga did not mean well for the country, could he have put his life on line, including going to detention for 9 years? I believe Raila Odinga as the country's heart, country at heart. The others equally, maybe they are realizing that they did some evils. Maybe they think it's time to maybe to prove that they didn't mean that, or maybe it's time to say sorry.
Right.
It's fine. But then we must look into their past. That's a fact we have to, it's a fact we have to deal with.
Right. Now, if you talk of trying to look at the past of the candidates, we've seen at some point we are having new entrants into this race. Like we've also seen Jimmy Wanjigi coming into play. He has not been actively into the government, in as much as yes, he supported the coming up of the current government in the stake, and in 2013 supporting Raila Odinga. So what do we do about these people who are coming fresh from nowhere, but they are rallying to be the presidents? What should we look at? Because we don't have probably a clear past record of what they've done.
Jimmy Wanjigi coming in as a fresh blood. Of course, he's a Kenyan. Constitutionally, is viable to run. But of course, Jimmy Wanjigi admitted that he had interest even in the Jubilee government.
Yes.
Yes, and Jimmy Wanjigi, I believe he bankrolled many political campaigns. That means he had interest. Maybe not at the fore, but he could have had, he could have been in Jubilee's boardroom, maybe in ODM. The other time he was in NASA. So, really, they are not. There's nothing so new about them. Right. But okay, for touting him as a fresh blood, all I mean is that maybe there's a lot even in his past. Right. Jimmy Wanjigi as a person, and maybe the Jimmy Wanjigi we see in the streets, we can still, even in their private lives, even in their, how somebody conducts himself. It's very important we look at how somebody conducts himself. Right. Because once you become a public servant, it is important we know what you are capable of doing.
Sure. Yes. Right. Now, Duncan, probably as we wind up, so in about 2 minutes, what could be your final words of advice to the youth and to the general populace at large as we are headed to the next year's polls?
With regards to the apathy of messages voter registration that has been witnessed across the country, I would say one of the Chinua Achebe's quotes in one of his literary books that, do not invite somebody who invites ant-infested faggots should not grumble when they are visited by the lizards. What I'm saying, maybe to put it plainly, is that the youth particularly, and maybe the women and the larger populace, it's time we grab this opportunity to change the country. We must be gadflies that changes the status quo. We must participate in this political process at least, because why would we grumble after we are done with the 2022? Because after you cast your vote, you only have to wait for five more years to cast another vote. So 2022 decision is very important, and we need to really look at how the future that they are going to hand over to us.
Right.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Duncan, for that sentiments or your opinion on the 2022 polls. Thank you for the advice. That has been Duncan Biu, our political pundit, telling us what to expect in the coming polls. Now, here's challengers. Let us all register as voters, the women, the youth, and every person in the country, so that the 2022 elections, when it comes to play, we have a stake on what government is being formed.